right there.
Oh.
Okay, Miss Diane, I am ready for you. Oh my God. Okay, so now I'm even more excited. My heart's racing. So Colin's on the top, Diane's underneath him. Oh, holy hell right now. That's all I can. I'm super excited and super nervous all at the same time. Okay, so I have a bunch of really good questions about Florence. First of all, I want to say that I have gotten to know Diane through her social media posts, and I'm here to tell you that the woman that you watch in Florence is like 75 degrees of a difference. I mean, it's so amazing to me that you were able to transform into someone so staunch and stellar and serious. And so my first question to you is, I like to talk about transformation. How did you jump right into that? And then did you have to stay in Florence, or were you able to kind of jump right back out?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of meetings with Emanuele before we started shooting, and they were still playing with the script, and I was offering my own thoughts about it. And so we had a lot of discussion about who Florence was and what her backstory was, what I came up with, what they came up with, and what worked for me. And I just connected with everything that she had been through, and just it shut her down. It closed her down, the fear and all the work. And I was able to connect with that. And then Emanuele was very, very clear about how he, he's a European director, and he wanted, nothing moving in my face. No, and so we worked together, and I told him I used to walk my dog around the neighborhood and practice like not tilting my face up, because I'm always kind of smiling. I love my walks. I love the dogs. And I was like, no, Florence can't even feel that. Yeah. So he helped me, and it was interesting. And I kept her inside. I'm not a method actor. I don't just stay in character, but I found that this has happened to me before, but by the day that we shot, when she finally comes back from the dance, we shot that before the dance, but when she comes back and she sinks into the chair and kind of has a breakdown, it was 4 days of holding everything inside. And I felt so bad for her and so sad. And I was so happy that I could finally let something out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I told Emanuele, I don't know what's going to come out, so just let me feel my way through it, and then we'll see. And he was like, okay. And so then that was such a relief. And then the next day we spent 12 hours shooting, that the big scene at the dance.
All right.
So yeah, so it was challenging, but she just kind of went into my heart. And I love her.
Oh my God, I'm in love with her. I have to tell you, the first, it's delightful. It is really like, well, I hate to keep bragging about Colin, but it's true. With the Colin Girard film, he's paralleling your film in the same way, in that it's magic from start to finish. It's one thing to get the story right, or it's one thing to get the casting right. He got everything right, and it's not like he's a 40-year-old filmmaker. You know what I mean? Your filmmaker is a younger fellow, obviously. I love international filmmakers. They have a knack for being able to do some things so well, a lot of things very, very well. I love the fact that you seem to have a love affair. You seem to have one that you adore, and then you have one that adores you, both at the same time, and you're balancing both relationships and recognizing them. So my question to you is, Mr. Crotty is delightful. Oh my gosh, I loved him.
I love him so much.
Where did they find him?
I don't know. He auditioned. He's watching today.
Yes, I know he is.
He is one of the sweetest, kindest, loveliest men I've ever worked with. And he was just delightful. We shot one full day of 12 hours, just Dan and I, and we did all the elevator scenes and then the lobby scene, everything that happened, outside the apartment. We did that one day. And he's like that in real life. And, it's funny because most people get that from the story. It wasn't written in the script, and I didn't really even recognize it until it was all put together. And then I was like, oh, I hope they get together. I love Angelo. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they found him, but he's so wonderful, isn't he?
Well, and the thing is too, you're so really good at, you know, you don't give the secret away. You know what I mean? I almost feel like Florence is keeping it to herself, like, he's here. She has some comfort in knowing he's always here. And so, but I think once she has that full moment right before you see her in the elevator at the end, that's kind of where I think she's realizing, okay, maybe this is something that I want for me as you go in there, etc. So it's a beautiful end to the arc. I mean, it does a tremendously good job, and that's excellent casting. I mean, you couldn't have done better. He just has a gentle face that plays against Florence's stiffness so very well. Yes. It's impressive. It truly is. I mean, that's great storytelling. And moreover, my other question to you on the other side of the fence, that gentleman who is in the coffee shop, I know that I've seen that man and it's driving me nuts. I'm like, have I seen him in something? You know what I mean? Like you see an actor and like, where is this guy from? Or is he a newbie? Do you know? Because I know him at
he's done lots of theater and he's been around. Yeah, I haven't gone to his IMDb page, but he was so, I was so lucky because he's so perfect. Warren was so perfect. And the way we did have some discussion. We actually, we shot that whole scene in the dance, our last day of shooting. And then we went back 2 months later and had to shoot the whole thing again. We did that in a night shoot from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. And, but when we shot it the first time, I know I wasn't completely happy with it because I also did not want to give the end away. Mm-hmm. So I said, if we just make sure that when Florence first comes, we think that he really is in love with her. And we see some little spark between them, and then it'll be more crushing to her and I think to the audience. But we have to see that there's some little spark. So when we shot it the second time, I felt like we made that little adjustment, but he was so perfect. And I loved the way that, Florence hasn't really said very many words in a long time. So for her to even say, that's not apricot, that was a lot. Oh, sure. And he's just, very loving, and his spirit was so open that it made me, as Florence, think like, oh yeah, of course. Yes, it's him. Of course it's him. He's in love with me, because he's just such a good actor. And I was so blessed to have both of them.
Oh, you're not kidding. Not to mention the fact he didn't just hear this, but he is a cute actor. I mean, we love cute actors, attractive actors, all that good stuff. And he's easy on the eyes. It's like, well, you know what? Mr. Crotty is too, okay? I'm not going to lie. You got some pretty people in this movie. It's like, absolutely. But what it is, I feel like they're both kind of literally sitting and kind of tapping on your heart. You know what I mean? They're both trying to open you up. The coffee shop examples, of course. He's trying to get you to blossom a little bit, look outside, see a bit of variety. And I kind of feel like that's opening up Florence to much more ideas, not only about love, but about, looking at herself and realizing, what am I missing? What am I not getting? Being the same way all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes. And yes, Cindy, yes, I love your observation. And really for the filmmakers, they didn't spend any time at all with the possibility of the relationship with Angelo. To them, it really was all about Florence finally being able to, as you said earlier, love herself, and to say, the way I looked at it was, I curled my hair and I wore a color and I didn't die and I got to sort of learn how to dance. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And, when she hears the music in the lobby and kind of does that dance, Emanuele was saying that's really the music from her heart. I don't know if anybody else hears it, but she hears it. And that's when she opens up like, okay, I took this huge step, and I'm going to be okay. And then after that, it's like, oh, I wonder what happens. Because for one thing, she left her purse and her shoes in the lobby, so she has to go back.
Florence and I interpret her. I'm kind of like, I almost feel like you have one side of you that is just clinging to the adventure and being like, you know what, I want to take this ride. And on the other side of the fence, it's that constant toggle between, being afraid or adventurous. And I almost feel like Florence has a combination of both. I'm curious to ask you, Diane, now, are you an AFI graduate? Because we all know, of course, that your director, he was an AFI student, which is a conservatory film.
No, not at all. And I've done 2 films for the conservatory, which have done really beautifully.
Wow.
The other one, I auditioned because, as we know, for women my age, there aren't many roles around. So when something like that comes around, if it's a stunning possibility and opportunity, then I'll put myself out for it, because and only if it's a place like AFI. I've done a couple for USC. The other one I did, Marriage Material, was sold to Fox Searchlight, and
nice.
Yeah, and that director just got a feature, and she's amazing. And that one I did first, and it was such a good experience that the filmmakers from Florence saw me in that. So they called me in for Florence. Yeah, so I didn't go there, but I have so much respect for that conservatory. They're just incredible.
Oh,
and and those directors go on to amazing things. So
absolutely.
I'm very lucky to have those people as my family now.
Oh, you betcha. And it's such an honor to have judged for them. I had not judged until 2 years ago for the first time. And I have to tell you, I just jaw dropped at the level of professionalism and just the picture that they paint on screen, whether it's a short or a feature, it never disappoints. It was really hard not to accept every single film. You have to find a reason where you're like, maybe I could figure this out. You know what I mean? It's never below a 7, 7.5, 8. It's never disappointing. The music, that's another question I wanted to ask. The music for this almost could be a soundtrack in and of itself. It really is. It's beautiful. Was it composed music? Do you know? Because I wondered if it was composed.
Yes, it was composed for the film, except I think maybe the music at the during the dance, the big band music. But the other music was composed by a composer in Saudi Arabia. One of our producers is Saudi. And I think he must have found the composer. And Emanuele and I would text each other during the process of when they were editing. And I was like, how's it going? Did you find music? Is it good? And he said, wait until you hear the music. It's perfect. He was so excited. So I thought so too. He just did a beautiful job because it's so much part of the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did he ever mention to you, or did you ever question? One of the things I wondered was, you really don't get the camera. The camera never really explains to us how Florence, in a lot of ways, has become so frigid, about all sorts of different things. Do you feel that the story might have been a bit more complete, because it's beautiful as is, make no mistake, but might it have come full circle had we have a little bigger picture into where all of that came from?
Yeah, absolutely. But, it was in fact, there were 2 or 3 scenes that were cut. They weren't backstory, but we told the story. There were some pictures on the wall. Florence used to have a sister, and they were dancers. I had an old picture of my actual sister and I in our tutus when we were growing up. And so there was a story, and the sister called her, and the apricot jam was her backstory. I don't really need to go into it, but there was so much, if it were a feature, that we could have. And I was even asking some questions like, wait a minute, what happened to that scene where Florence can't sleep because the note is calling to her, and she wakes up and she kind of looks down the hall and then she goes back to bed. What happened to that? And they were like, yeah, no time. We had to cut you know, you have to cut your precious darlings. So sure, if they made it into a feature, then we could do all of that stuff and it would enlighten people. Instead, we had to tell it. I mean, Florence hardly speaks, so
I know.
It's a lot to ask.
And it's kind of a cheat, you know, because when you have a good actress and you're like, is she going to talk more? Because, you know, that's part of the excitement is, you know, there's something to be said about having more dialogue for somebody who is so classy and creative, such as yourself, that you want to hear more, you know. But I've come to learn, for instance, this actor in the room right here, he was a garbage man for 15 minutes and said not one word and just blew my mind away. So it can go on both sides of the fence. I can tell you, my judges were particularly moved by the fact that you were able to be so fun and frigid all at the same time, that the story was capped perfectly. In fact, they made mention of it repeatedly. The runtime was perfect. The music stood out very well. Cinematography, I think that you got a 10 on cinematography. That's huge because that doesn't always happen in a festival realm, of course. To date, do we know how well Florence has done in the circuit so far?
Yeah, you know, it's so sad right now because everything's shut down. We were able to attend. We have, the film has won Best Short in, one festival in Italy for the Los Angeles Cinematography Awards, Canadian Cinematography Awards. We were in the Beverly Hills Film Festival, which they weren't able to do. It was their 20th anniversary. We were in the Newport Film Festival, which I'm still kind of waiting to hear. We just got into Warsaw, one in a beautiful international, I was so excited. 4,000 films were submitted from 125 countries. And I've been nominated for Best Actress in that one. And they invited me to Warsaw. I know. But it's in end of November, so we'll see. But yeah, it was doing well. I almost feel like it's more of a European film because it's so quiet. And I love the way they did that. Emanuele just wanted things to unfold, take their time, the stillness and the quiet, that was all from him. And he didn't want to hit people over the head with the story. So some things you may not know what really happened, but that was his choice. And I love that. So yeah, so they're actually still submitting it. They said they're going to do more submissions this fall. And it's just fingers crossed, you know, auditions are just now starting to trickle in. Yeah. Self-tapes at home. I got one today. So, so we'll see, but, you know, keep fingers and toes crossed because yes. I just love the filmmakers, and I love that they chose to tell a story like The Cherry Cake about a woman who's not 22.
Thank you.
And, you know, who has feelings and who has emotions and who can still change and still discover herself. I asked them like 50 times, why did you young people decide to tell this story about an old lady? But I was just grateful that they did.
Oh, yeah. So Florence is not about an old lady. Florence is a young lady with lots of heart and lots of spirit. Everybody loves Florence for that whole, you know, vibrance and volume of joy and jubilation for herself and her coming of her own age. You know, I feel like she's reinventing herself, almost like the caterpillar is blossoming over and over and over again. Tell me, are you guys attending for awards tomorrow night?
Oh, I don't know. Send a link.
I'll send you the information about that, because obviously nominations are going out tonight. The awards ceremony is tomorrow night. So I wanted to make sure that you pass that along to him if you would.
I will.
As far as that goes, I do hope that you spend the rest of the day watching the rest of the screenings, because we have a bunch more things to do yet today. But what I can say to you is I am so incredibly flattered that you're here. As Michael will tell you, there are actors that stand out to me in every film. And I have a soft spot for you and for Sylvia and some of the other actors that are here, and that sticks with me. So your presence has been a great joy to me. And just the other day when I was crying, I actually turned Florence on. So I thought you would want to know that you're a source of comfort to me. So thank you so very much. Thank you for your support of the festival. I'll send you the information about the awards. The nominations will come out tonight. So if you guys, watch your email tonight, And that's that as far as that goes. I will make sure to edit the panel and I'll get it sent over to you, you folks at another, obviously once the festival's over with, but please join us for the rest of it. Now, I have to start my 3:45 block, which means I have to leave here after I speak to Colin for just a moment. But I just want to say
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you to everybody who joined us in the block here. Please stay with us. We have the feature film, Search for the Cheese Man is next. And then I believe that we have the comedy shorts, which my Michael is present in today. And then, of course, The Right to Live rounds out the rest of our day. So please join me if you can. I'm now going to exit the room, except for Colin. I'll talk to Colin for 2 minutes. Yes, Judy.
Cindy, can I just say that it was so wonderful to see 2 films about mature women.
Yes.
Maybe I am one.
Right.
But they were both wonderful films. I loved them. I loved your performance, Diane.
Aww.
I'm so glad that I stayed for this.
And
so
yes,
Thank you.
And
That
you should
makes
make
me
sure.
cry.
I will make sure to connect all you guys on through email. And I say that because, of course, Judy had her film, If You Guys Didn't See My Father's Fabulous Funeral, which is, of course, a mature audience type thing, too. So that's another thing. So let's all get connected. I love this whole networking, connecting thing.
Absolutely.
Huge on that.
Thank you, Judy.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you, Cindy.
Anytime, my dear. Okay.
So
Mr.
much
Collins,
to me.
please join us in the next block. Please, please, please.